Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to Plat. Purplatypus is the name, and today we are going over 5 essential beginner tips. Now, really quick, before we jump into it, I just want to say these are focused at really new players. This isn't for people that are like, have 10 hours in the game or trying to figure out the best builds and things like that, or a tier list of all this stuff. This is much more for players that may have just picked up the game after the 1.0 release and are trying to get a handle on the basic mechanics and kind of what you should focus on as a new player. So, the very first thing, I'm not even going to count this as one of the tips, but if you see here, I currently have, well, you maybe can't see, but I have my mouse and keyboard clipped currently on. Right down here in the bottom right, it says, no, playing with a controller is recommended. Now, a lot of people ask, is this a controller or a keyboard game? Supergiant suggests playing with a controller. You won't see this if you're playing with a controller. If I switch to my controller, it won't show up, but if I have my mouse on, it will. So you can do whatever you want. Honestly, there's no big deal. However, I have played with both. I have found much more success with a controller as well. So it's something to keep in mind if you have the choice, you're playing on PC, and you're wondering which you should play. Controller is recommended. But without further ado, let's jump in to tip number 1. All right, so the first tip is basically what to prioritize as a new player. Now, you can kind of go 2 directions with this. It really depends on your personal preference. But basically, as you're going through the game, you're going to be getting chambers, right? We just went into this room. I did a combat. And then after this, I'm presented 2 choices. And sometimes there'll be more than 2. Sometimes there'll be just the 1. But basically, you're going to have to make a decision. And I'll go over in a different guide video what everything does in detail and everything it could be used for. But basically, you're going to be offered things like darkness. So you can see these resources in the bottom right corner here. I'm covering up one of these things right here, right above it. But that's not really important. But you're going to be offered things like keys, gems, darkness, money, boons, HP increases, and like nectar. So it's kind of like, what do you want to do as a new player? So there's the 2 main ways you can go. You could focus on making your current run to win as strong as possible, which I typically would not recommend for newer players. If you're just trying to get as strong as possible, as fast as possible to do good in this specific run, then you want to take things like money, HP increases, and just things like that. And, I like making YouTube videos, so I typically go this route just because I want each run to be as good as possible for a YouTube video. But typically when you're a newer player, you're going to want to lean towards the other things. You're going to want to lean towards darkness, gems, keys. They can be used for lots of things, but basically these are the resources and things like the nectar. These are resources that are used to make like the meta game, use stronger meta. So outside of this run, you'll use these resources for different things to make yourself stronger in different ways. Like keys can get like new weapons and stuff. Darkness could upgrade your stats, give you all kinds of passive bonuses. Nectar is used to get keepsakes and improve relationships. Gems is used to make renovations to the underworld that can give you new buildings. So like, basically you gotta choose. I typically recommend going for the meta stuff. Like, don't worry too much about winning the specific run that you're in by getting as strong as possible, unless you're having like a really good run and you really just want to give it your go, see how far you can get. Of course, then you could do that. But try to lean towards getting the things that are going to make you stronger in the long run, things that in 10 runs from now you'll still be getting benefit from, right? Because you're getting the same benefit every single run, instead of like, because the HP and the money, when you die, that's going to go away. You're never going to get benefit from that reward in a future run. But when you take darkness, even if you have like an extra stockpile, you can't use it all, you're going to get a benefit from it going forward up to a point where you do it all. So yeah, prioritize, in my suggestion, making your character stronger over all the runs as opposed to making each individual run as strong as possible. All right, so tip number 2 is going to be how to heal. You'll hear when you're early on in the game and you're running through it, your character is going to be like, I can't heal, but I can go on. There's no healing. He'll make like these comments that he can't heal, which isn't 100% true. There are a few ways to heal, but for the most part, it's true you're not going to be healing a bunch. So early on, after your first few runs, you're going to get access to this mirror. You can get chthonic vitality, which every time you go into a new chamber, it's going to heal you by 1, 2, or 3, depending on the level. 3 is the max, so it's not much, right? That's just a little bit of healing, where if you take damage early on or something, and then you do perfect for the next rooms, it'll like, you'll recover your HP, or like it just helps elongate your run because it effectively is 3 HP, every single room. So it's nice, but it's not that much. Outside of that, the only ways to heal is after you beat a boss. You're going to go into like this chamber in between. There'll be a fountain there that'll heal you, but also there's the well of Charon, like, so that you can go to the shop, right? Charon's shop. I'm so sorry, these names. All right. They've said it a million times, and I'm just too stupid and I always forget. But you can go to the shop. They'll usually offer sandwiches or something like that for about 50 gold without any modifiers on it that will heal you a pretty large amount. I believe it's percentage of your HP based. And then you can also go to these wells that will be around. That will basically, you'll be able to trade some gold. It won't be like usually a flat healing, but there are some healing options in there. But don't be running around just trying to heal by killing enemies in specific ways or anything. Typically, the only ways to heal are going to be by going to a shop, defeating a boss, or the small amount of HP you get from going to chamber when you have the upgrade on the mirror. All right, so number 3 is kind of about keepsakes. So as you can see, I don't have all these here, right? I'm on a newer save that I'm going through. But one of the things I highly recommend is you get this nectar, and it says give someone to earn keepsake. This could be considered a little spoilery. So if you're sensitive to that, I would skip through this tip. But basically, try to get the good keepsakes, or you're not good, they're all good in some situations, but the new player friendly keepsakes, the ones that'll help make your runs a little bit stronger, that'll help you get further. Like you can get these keepsakes that make it so you find Ares boons, you find Artemis boons, so you find the specific boons like more frequently, or they'll find it sooner, then I'll have higher rarity. That's kind of more like, it's not as helpful on a specific new player run, I don't think. The ones that I highly recommend for the newer players are, one, as soon as you can, Cerberus. You just take this one, adds 25 to your HP, and this levels up. It goes like, I think it's 25 up to 50. It might be up to 75. I don't remember exactly how much it is, but it's just like more HP, right, on your run. That'll help you get significantly further most of the time. Getting the coin purse. I'm sorry, this one is for Cerberus, if I say. This one's from Hypnos. Right away when you die, you're going to meet Hypnos first when you come out of the pool, basically. This one gives you extra money. This will help you get your run further. I know I said don't prioritize money in an earlier tip for, if you want to make your run as good as possible, but these are kind of separate. You're not choosing these as rewards. These are mostly going to be things that will just help your run get further. And as you get further, you'll get more darkness, get more keys per run. And so that's why I recommend these as well. Plus, having more power in a run will help you typically just be alive long enough to learn new enemy patterns, right? Like if you take Cerberus early and you have 25 more HP, that's several more mistakes you can make against an early boss. Or at least one more mistake you can make against an early boss, which is this third artifact. The other third one I recommend is the Lucky Tooth, which you get from Skelly here, right, by your weapons. Basically, he makes it so you get an additional Death Defiance, which means when you take a fatal damage, instead you're going to revive with 50 HP at level 1. I think it's 75 and 100 HP after that. These things just help you be stronger in the rate now, where you now could stay alive. You can make more mistakes, you could stay alive longer, and you could learn these patterns ideally quicker in less attempts. But so yeah, that's kind of what I recommend. There's obviously, all of them are good, give it to whoever you want, but as for the early stuff, I recommend getting things like these 3 specifically: the increased maximum HP, the extra money right out when you get to a run, because this right here basically reads, the first shop you go to, or when you go to a shop, you get an extra boon or get an extra HP boost, like max HP, or get extra healing, right? Because money can be used for those things. Sometimes you get an extra Daedalus hammer, but typically this is like, get a cool new passive, get increased HP, survivability. So that's what this basically translates to. And this one is literally, when you would die, you instead don't die, and you get another chance with 75 HP. And you start a game, you only have 50 HP. So I actually think if you don't have more HP than this, I think it would still only restore 50. But still, basically gives you a whole additional second life when you're new into the game. So I highly recommend these. All right, so this tip is about boons. If you've played even one run, you understand how the basic, the base of the game works. You are gonna beat rooms, and then gods will come offer you boons, which are passive benefits, or they just do all kinds of different things. So this is kind of a little bit spoilery if you don't know anything about the game. So I'm not gonna really spoil anything for you specifically, because it's kind of fun to discover what all these things do. But besides, so gods have boons, right? They also have, they're kind of classified into tiers, tier 1, tier 2, and then there's like legendary boons. But also, every main god, with the exception of 2 of Chaos and Hermes, has what's called a duo boon with each other god. So every combination of gods has a combined duo boon that will kind of, ideally it'll synergize, definitely some are better than others, but they will like kind of combine the main identity of those gods into one passive benefit. So if you want to kind of discover these and see what they all do, I recommend not taking different boons from all the different gods that you happen to come across. Don't be afraid to skip. Like if you already have Athena, you already have Dionysus, like don't feel bad for skipping a Zeus or an Ares. You know, you can kind of try to like, all right, I'm going to skip those. I'm going to stick to these two gods that I have mostly right now. And as you take more boons from them, you have a good chance of finding a duo boon, which is going to be a really powerful, cool thing that's just fun. They're very unique and very cool. So I don't want to kind of like, again, I don't want to spoil any of them, what they actually do. But I think they're definitely worth looking out. And they're one of those things that the game doesn't really tell you about. And I've seen people that just take all these boons and they never really find duo boons. So they play a long time without knowing they even exist. So, you know, kind of keep an eye out for that. Keep your, you know, if you want to discover the fun stuff, keep your boon selection to a few gods and you can find some really, really cool stuff. All right. And the fifth and final tip, honestly, it's just what I say in all roguelikes, basically, that I play and that I make guide videos for, is it's about the attitude, you know, is when you go into a game like this, it's not like playing a normal single player game where it's like, you know, a 40-hour story and, you know, you get a game over, you got to, you know, retry, reload, you know. This game is designed from the ground up for you to lose many, many, many times. You are designed to lose, then get stronger. Both your character will get permanently stronger through, you know, your acquisition of different resources like darkness and keys, things like that. But beyond that, you're also going to get much better at the game from a skill standpoint, as you can see from my perfect dodges here. You're going to get to the point where you start memorizing patterns, what enemies do. You're going to be able to see exactly what they do and know how best to defeat them, how, you know, the range, all this kind of stuff. So don't, like, when you lose, it's really important to just keep a good attitude about it, because even when you get to the final boss, or whatever the final boss may be, I don't know, or you get to a boss for the first time, or even if you beat a boss and then you get to him a second time, you're like, I could beat him now, and you lose. It's still a learning experience, right? Not every run is going to be as strong. You're gonna have weaker runs, you're gonna have stronger runs, you're gonna have times where your game's off. So just remember that, especially early on, it's a learning experience. Really take your time, play the game slow, and maybe even, you know, do things. This might be an extreme example, but just take time in rooms like this, practicing your dodges, you know, the window, when can you get in, when can you not? Because you can see you can do this 1,000 times, you can still accidentally get hit because enemies attack faster than you think, you know. But really just focus on learning, you know, keep a good attitude, focus on learning, because that's really what's most important. Anyway, friends, that's going to be it for these 5 tips. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you had a good time watching the video. I hope they were helpful. I mean, they are very basic. That was the whole point of the video going in. The game just came out 1.0 release. I know there's been a big surge of new people coming in. And so I just want to make sure that people aren't having too much difficulty with the basic mechanics and things like that. If you want any other guide videos, let me know what you'd like to see. I'm playing this game a lot right now. I have another guide video coming out very soon as well, where I'm going to kind of go over the very specifics of what all these, in the bottom right corner, you can see all these different resources, what they all exactly do, what they use for, and things like that. So without further ado, the Purplatypus is Purplatypus. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did like it, leaving a like is awesome. If you hated it and you thought this was terrible, please leave a thumbs down in a comment as well, because feedback is feedback and I want to hear it. Unless you're, I know you IRL and you want to troll me. You know what? I actually like that too. Leave that down there as well. Friends, peace out. I'll see you next time with more